Hello, everyone. We are live with a special broadcast this afternoon. We want to bring you the very latest on the devastating and deadly storm in south central Kentucky early this morning. Moments ago, Governor Andy Beshear declared Kentucky in a state of emergency. Now, there is still much that we do not know at this time. I can tell you we are in a rescue operation. Local law enforcement, emergency services, and local leadership are working quickly to bring our community answers. We do know that a vast majority of people in our area are currently without power, and emergency officials say that could last for days. As crews work to repair downed power lines and restore service, we also know that this event, it was deadly. We're unsure at this time just how many lives were lost in the storm. We're working very closely with local law enforcement to bring you the very latest information on fatalities and injuries. And what we intend to bring you in this next hour is the very latest information on the areas damaged across our community. We have local city leaders, law enforcement, weather experts, just to name a few, joining us on the show tonight to help illustrate exactly what happened early this morning. Now, just a few hours ago, Bowling Green city officials, emergency management, local law enforcement, and local utility authorities held a press conference to share information about the state of our area. Now, some of the major elements of this press conference is that we are still in a rescue phase. Emergency crews are still looking for people reported missing and trapped inside homes and buildings. Local law enforcement asks that you please avoid any unnecessary travel. There is still much debris down power lines on roadways. It's making it extremely dangerous. Traffic also affects emergency responders' ability to travel quickly to destinations around town that need their help. So as mentioned earlier, widespread power outages throughout the Bowling Green area. We learned in the press conference that it could take days to restore the power to everyone. City leaders also asked that if you want to help your community, if you are looking for ways to volunteer, then please register with the Red Cross. Now, the Red Cross is the most effective and efficient way to help people in our community that need it the most. South Warren High School is now open. They're operating as a shelter for anyone that needs help. The American Red Cross is also there supporting the community and recruiting volunteers.
I declared a state of emergency. I've activated the National Guard, and we are deploying 181 guardsmen, including search and extraction and debris clearance folks. They'll be arriving in communities this morning.
Governor Beshear has issued a state of emergency and has submitted a request to President Biden for an immediate federal emergency declaration. Now, the order will direct the Kentucky National Guard to provide support and assistance to the impacted communities. And like we said, South Warren High School is open to anyone needing shelter, but they are asking for some donations. Right now, they're in need of towels, washcloths, new underwear, toiletries like shampoo, soap, and toothpaste, and of course, toothbrushes. Coming up in our special report, we will take you live to South Warren High School, where the school is operating as a shelter and really a central hub for the Red Cross. Now, of course, this morning as the sun is rising, many of you were getting a first look at the damage done to your homes, property, and cars. For those of you living in the Moss Creek area in Bowling Green, it's particularly tough, where the majority of homes were leveled to their foundation. It's devastating. Only begins to describe the feeling for so many of you. Heartbreaking images right now. Emergency crews were dispatched to this area of Bowling Green around 3 o'clock this morning to assist with multiple rescues and extractions. We are still working to find out exactly how many people were impacted in this area, the amount of injuries and potential deaths. Now, I want you to take a look at this next video. A viewer sent us this. Her apartment was destroyed, but her dog survived. It was actually sitting there waiting for her. Take a look.
There's our apartment right there. My car's on top of Burba's, and I found my dog right there, sitting there waiting for us.
Absolutely amazing. Now, look at this video. You can actually hear the tornado sirens and actually see the funnel cloud as it is making its way through our area. This was given to NBC News by Kevin Thompson. Terrifying sights to see, especially at night, and that's really what makes storms like these much more dangerous. Now, the most destructive part of the storm hit around 1 o'clock this morning in Bowling Green and it really carved a path of destruction along the 31W bypass south of Broadway. You can see in this video almost every business along the bypass has major damage. We're going to show you more of this video here in just a second, but we're going to go to Chief Meteorologist Scott Burchett, who is standing by right now. He is on the line. Scott, I know you were tracking a lot of this storm last night. Can you tell us what you've seen?
So this was a situation, Morgan, that you and I even were talking about at 5 and at 6 o'clock. We were watching these storms well to the west as part of a powerful cold front that was moving through. And we had several pieces, several ingredients that came together really to help these storms form and stay alive as they went through the area. As a matter of fact, temperatures went up last night. We had temperatures rise from the 60s to the 70s from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock and even later last night. So we had a surge of warm air. We also had high humidity, and we had quite a bit of winds. We had a good wind profile, and that really helped these storms, number one, to form and to stick together. And then when they got with the wind, that really helped put that twist in the atmosphere, and that's what helped those tornadoes to actually form, and they stayed together. And the particular cell that hit Bowling Green with the tornado, we were tracking basically that storm, either that tornado or multiple tornadoes that kept spawning tornadoes since basically it crossed into Kentucky from just south of Hopkinsville. So this was something we knew it was coming to Bowling Green. We were watching it, and we had several warnings, and we were actually on the air as the tornado went through places like Russellville. And I remember saying, if you live in Warren County, this is your time to be prepared before there's even a tornado warning, because this storm is heading our way, and that's exactly what happened. And as the storm went through, of course, we lost power at one point at the station, but of course we were on backup power. We were able to stay on the air. The question was, were people able to actually watch our coverage? Because did they have power? Did they have internet if they were streaming us? But the fact is, looking outside from the station last night, it was eerily dark for downtown Bowling Green because there was simply no power to be seen, no street lights. Traffic was not flowing, and then later on, after everything calmed down, as I was leaving the station, it was easy to see why there wasn't any traffic, because there was debris everywhere. It was very hard to see if you were about to run upon something. I was driving very slowly as I was leaving just to make sure that I didn't hit anything or drive over anything. So this was an impressive storm as it moved through, and one of the biggest concerns, and we talked about this also during the news, was the time of day it moved through. It moved through after dark. Very dangerous because people are asleep after, middle of the night, and then also you just can't see what's happening with the sky when it's dark like that. We couldn't see what was happening. Darius and I were in the studio. We would look out the window from afar, and it was very hard to see what was happening. All we could hear was the sirens and the wind and the rain as they were hitting the building. So this was a very interesting situation as we went through. We were relying on the radar, we were relying on the National Weather Service, and we were able to actually see the wind shear on the radar. We could see the different directions of wind and really pinpoint where this tornado was.
Absolutely, Scott. Now, the magnitude of this storm is something that I feel safe saying is historic in Bowling Green. Can you comment on that?
Definitely. So we have an EF3 tornado made touchdown early this morning, about 150-mile-an-hour wind. That's pretty impressive, especially for 2 weeks before Christmas. This is a storm that first of all, let me say, you can have severe weather any day of the year. It doesn't have to be in the spring of the year, but this is something that you would associate with maybe a spring-type storm as these cold fronts march across the area as the seasons are changing. This is not something that you expect to see in December, but this is the type of storm that has torn through areas like Bowling Green before. It can happen in any geographic area. Bowling Green very close to the historic Tornado Alley, and we've seen it kind of march east over the last couple of decades. And so this kind of storm, it doesn't surprise me that it hit, although I think to say this is historic proportions for December, this is not something we expect to see in December by and large.
Right, and of course the timing of the storm really made an impact. What can you say about that? Of course, we don't know the gravity of the fatalities or the injuries, but I believe being late at night like this, it's got to contribute.
It definitely does, and if you were people that were trying to go to shelters last night, I was advising people to go to shelters when you see this tornadic storm in the county before you. If you're watching on the radar, if you're listening to these warnings, don't wait until there's a warning issued for your county, because if you see it next door, it's coming. Most likely it's coming. And the problem with traveling after dark is when these winds start to pick up even ahead of the tornado, you get debris being blown around. You get people trying to all get in these shelters at once. So then you run the risk of actually being stuck in your car in a driveway or on a street as these storms move through. And as we've seen, tornadoes can touch down in downtowns just like they did last night. So, this was one of those situations where I think the timing of it was actually made it much more dangerous.
Absolutely, Scott. All right, thank you so much for popping in and sharing your insight. We appreciate it. We'll touch base with you soon.
All right.
All right, thank you, Scott. Well, I want to take another look at this video that we showed you just moments ago where you can hear the tornado sirens and actually see the funnel clouds, and it's making our way through. Again, this was given to NBC. Terrifying sights to see at night. It just makes it incredibly more dangerous, just like Scott said. And of course, we really saw the aftermath this morning over on 31W. That's really the most destructive part of the storm. It hit around 1 o'clock this morning. It carved a path of destruction along the 31W bypass south of Broadway. Now you can see in this video almost every business along the bypass has pretty major damage. Windows blown out, signs torn from their post, roofs collapsed. Early this morning, business owners along the bypass were surveying the damage in the dark, moving carefully around downed power lines strung across the roadways. Now, another part of town, Magnolia Street, really seemed to get the brunt of this storm. Nearly every house on the street suffered some type of damage. You can see trees on top of homes, many cars damaged, lots of power lines down as well. I actually walked through the street earlier this morning. There's quite a lot of roof damage. Something notable and heartbreaking to really look at is the debris from the homes hanging from the trees. I actually saw clothing items hanging from one tree. Now, I talked to one neighbor. They told me that right after the storm hit, her husband actually ran to every home on the street to check on their neighbors. Now, as far as we know, they are safe. We haven't heard of any reported injuries just yet, but we are continuing to follow that story. Now, there was also some damage in Creekwood, the Moss neighborhood, Creekwood area. It was hit in a devastating way. As you can see, red and blue lights from the Bowling Green police and fire departments lit up the pitch black sky as they showed up in full force to the area after roofs caved in. Cars were actually sent flying into homes. In fact, one retired firefighter actually threw on some gear and joined his former co-workers to respond to the tragedy after his son and daughter-in-law alerted him of the destruction. Several homes are now only a foundation. Lawns are covered in debris. Family members were gathered outside this morning collecting up their destroyed belongings and really just trying to process this devastation. The number of houses damaged on Stone Hollow and the surrounding street, well, it was just too many to count. The front end of the Spring Hill subdivision is completely blocked off by collapsed power lines. Take a look at this video. A downed tree, a lot of debris. Now, in the early morning hours, neighbors were outside asking one another, are you okay? Do you need help? That was one thing that we loved to see this morning when we were out surveying the damage. Neighbors were really flocking to help each other. Of course, large trees fell. They caused severe damage. The streets were completely black without street lights, and backyards were just flooded with water and debris. Much of the Spring Hill neighborhood is still without power, may not see power return for actually another day or two, potentially longer. That's what officials are telling us right now. Like much of the area early this morning, Russellville Road also took quite a beating. Many buildings on the road, including Enterprise Car Rental, Cabrera's, and another auto parts and 2 Lanes hair salon suffered major damage. Enterprise is just half the building it used to be, with the back part being completely destroyed. Well, of course, today was set to be a day of celebration on the Hill for WKU graduates. Jace Lux with WKU is with us now. Jace, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What has really been the response to the tragedy on campus?
Well, our primary focus has been making sure that members of the campus community are safe, making sure that members of the campus community know where to go for the resources that they may need and the assistance that they need, and making sure that members of the community who might have been thinking of traveling to campus just don't do so for the time being. And so we've really worked very hard. We had our first leadership meeting at about 2 o'clock this morning, and have continued to meet so that we can update one another and update our students, faculty, and staff as to next steps and kind of the status of campus right now.
Right, I'm sure a lot of meetings going on, a lot of discussions. Of course, graduation was canceled today. What are the next steps for that?
Well, we do look forward to appropriately celebrating and recognizing the achievements of all of our graduates when it is safe to do so. And we'll be communicating information about that with those individuals and with their families, because we know that this was to be a big day for them, and we certainly want to recognize their accomplishments. But first and foremost, we want to make sure that everyone is safe and taken care of.
Right. Speaking of which, we've heard that there are shelters or a safe space set up on campus. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, we're working with our residential students. We're going to each individual residence hall room to talk to the students and find out what their plans are. Do they have a place to go? Today, our students that live on campus were scheduled to move out of their residence halls at 10 o'clock this morning, and so we have obviously extended that and are going to be providing space for students on campus if they need it. And that also includes working with students who are prepared and ready to leave campus to find the safest way off campus. And right now we found that the two safest exit points for campus are either Louisville Road and going out that way, or Morgantown Road. And so we're communicating that information with students, making sure that students who are still on campus have adequate food and making sure that their needs are met.
Right, and there has been damage, of course, all over kind of the downtown area. Can you tell me what kind of damage has been on Western's campus?
Well, campus itself was largely spared of significant damage, but you know, if you get just a block or so off of campus, it's devastating. Right. And that's the only word that I can think to describe it right now. There were some, obviously there was debris around campus and reports of some windows maybe that had been blown out, but compared to the devastation that some community members and some business owners have felt, campus was largely spared.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So what can the community do to help? Everyone right now is wondering, what can we do to help out? What does Western need right now?
What we need is just to make sure that our students are safe. And so I would ask that if you're not on campus, please don't try to come to campus right now. As you know, the entry and exit points to campus are very iffy right now. And so what we need to do is to be able to get to our students, to take care of them safely. And like I said, for those that are prepared to leave, to work with them to make sure that they can exit campus safely and return home for winter break. And so the more people that we have coming to campus unnecessarily, the harder that's going to be to accomplish that. And primarily, we just want to make sure that everyone, not just the campus community, but the Bowling Green community, stays safe.
Absolutely. All right, Jace, thank you so much for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
We are continuing to think of Western and all of our folks here in Bowling Green. We
Thank
appreciate you. I want to take a look now at some more of the damage. Of course, we had several tornadoes rip through. Ryan's fatted calf actually suffered some damage as well. Angie Jaggers-Keene, she actually sent this video to NBC. Again, a lot of power lines were down. It looks like the windows have just been knocked out of the building. I did see on social media that they will be closed, of course, for the next foreseeable future. That's what many businesses in our area is actually saying right now. Now, Governor Beshear, he released several press events today. He released several statements. One of those was saying that he is continuing to pray for us. But I want you to take a listen to this if we have it.
It's been one of the toughest nights in Kentucky history, and some areas have been hit in ways that are hard to put into words. To all of our Kentucky families that are impacted by this, we want you to know that we are here for you. We love you. We are praying for you.
Now, of course, several tornadoes ripped through parts of Kentucky overnight, causing major destruction in Mayfield. That's really where a lot of damage was seen. A roof collapsed at a candle factory, actually, when a tornado struck overnight. This drone video shows the devastation. According to officials, well over 100 people were actually inside Mayfield Consumer Products at the time. Now, Governor Andy Beshear said during a press conference today he believes at least dozens of workers may have lost their lives. Crews were working to find people who may be trapped under the rubble. At least 4 tornadoes were reported in western counties in the state. The primary tornado possibly breaking historic records. We'll learn more about that in the coming days. It was on the ground continuously for, listen to this, 200 miles. Governor Beshear says he believes the death toll in the state will exceed 50, but could possibly end up closer to 70 to 100 lost lives.
I want to find my wife. I want to find her. I hope she's still somewhere safe. I hope she's somewhere safe. And baby, please call me soon we get connected. Please call me. I'm looking for you, baby. We've been looking for you. Me, Tamara, the kid, we all looking for you right now.
Absolutely heartbreaking. We are continuing to see many horrible videos like this. It's something no one wants to see, especially in your own neighborhood. We're going to check back in with Noah Moore, who is in the Weather Center. Hey, Noah.
Hey, Morgan. Yeah, so thankfully, we are going to see nothing but clearing conditions for the foreseeable future for the next coming of days, which is really good for us. But let's get to it right now. We are going to have falling temperatures for the next upcoming hours for most of the day. And then we're going to see the partly cloudy skies for overnight. And then on tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday and the next couple days after that, we're going to see nothing but sunny skies, much needed sunny skies for us here for us. But today we're going to see temperatures at 43 degrees out here. It was a little higher, especially around midnight when the storms did come. It has dropped down considerably into the lower 40s. And then we are still going to have those breezy conditions. So make sure, and if you're really close to the tornado area, the tornado zones, make sure you be careful with some of those higher wind gusts. They could still knock around a few of the loose debris items. So you definitely want to be keeping minding in that as well. But your highs today here, you see from our Kentucky Mesonettes, we do have high temperatures from earlier today since midnight. But a lot of this has just been completely overdone throughout the most of the night and over the next couple of hours. But we're going to plan your day for the next couple of hours. For us, for around 1, that's when we're going to see temperatures in and around to the 50s, into the lower 50s. And then as 4 and 7 p.m. come around, that's when we should begin to see some more of those clouds begin to clear out just a little bit, but our temperatures are still going to continue to dip down into the lower to mid 40s and then eventually into the 30s, and then we'll get even colder than that. So, and if you're going to be having no power or anything, make sure you have extra blankets, or make sure you try and find a shelter just so that you can have a nice place to sleep at night. Morgan?
All right, thank you, Noah. Well, I'm joined now with Katie McKee from the Bowling Green Fire Department. Katie, this has been going on all night. Tell me, did you get any rest?
Not yet.
Right. So I'm sure you've just been going through Thursday. So what time did you actually get started, assessing kind of the damage today?
Crews got out right away. I want to say around 1:30, 2 a.m. They were out there trying to do what they can to help.
Right. And we were listening to the scanner here, and it sounded kind of just like one after another. Talk to me kind of about the gravity of what you guys have been seeing.
We were not expecting this type of damage to our community, and the calls were coming in one after another, so we just did our best to get out there, get as many crews out there as we could, and just help as quickly as possible.
Yeah. We actually heard a couple of reports of some collapsed buildings. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
There are several residential structures that did collapse. There are a couple industrial buildings that were also collapsed due to the tornado. So there's devastation all over the city, and so we're trying to hit all areas.
Can you talk to me any about potential injuries, fatalities? I know that's something everyone is still trying to find details about right now.
There have been fatalities, but at this point it's still ongoing, so we can't comment on exactly how many there are.
So what is the process now? I'm sure cleanup is a big part of that, but what is the fire department doing for the rest of the day?
So right now they're going door to door to the different homes in the communities that were hit the hardest, and they are going in, searching, rescuing, doing what they can to help those people.
Absolutely. And it's tough to see, especially when you see videos like this. And, a lot of people have said they haven't seen tornado damage like this in a long time. I heard someone say since 1998. So seeing it today, I mean, I think people were just shocked, and especially for it to happen overnight. I think it contributes to the injuries, to the fatalities, to the devastation. Is that something that I'm sure the fire department sees when accidents happen overnight? It's just devastating.
It is. It happens quickly, and people don't want to think it's something that can happen to them in their community, but as you can tell, it does happen, and it is devastating.
Absolutely. All right, Katie, well, thank you so much. Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're continuing to follow the devastating storms from last night. I want you to take a look at this video. You can actually hear the tornado sirens and actually see the funnel cloud as it's making our way to our area. This was given to NBC News by Kevin Thompson. Terrifying sights, terrifying sounds to hear, especially at night. And that's really what makes storms like these much more dangerous. You're at home, you're asleep, and it's difficult to, be weather aware. Now, the most destructive part of the storm, it actually hit around 1 o'clock this morning in Bowling Green. It carves a path of destruction along 31W bypass south of Broadway. We have video of that. In that, you can see almost every business along the bypass has major damage. That's a look at a WKU liquor store, I believe. Windows blown out, signs torn from their posts, roofs just collapsed. Early this morning, business owners along the bypass, they were surveying the damage in the dark, moving carefully around downed power lines that were strung across the roadway. Magnolia Street also really seemed to get a brunt of the storm. Nearly every house on that street suffered some type of damage. You can see trees on top of homes, many cars damaged, lots of power lines down as well. Something that I thought was just horrific to see. Debris of your home on trees, on power lines. You can actually see articles of clothing hanging from a tree. Absolutely just devastating. I'm joined now with the Bowling Green Police Department. Ronnie, you've been working all day on this. Tell me a little bit about what you've seen.
Well, we have gone out to just take a look at the damage where the crews are working. And so the fire department and the police department both are combing through wreckage. And they're going door to door. They're trying to locate people if they're missing, trying to make sure everyone's okay. So it's just been really unbelievable. It's just, this is something that you just don't think about would happen in my town. So it's devastating.
It is, and that's what everyone's saying. You don't expect it to happen to your town. And I've heard several people say they haven't seen a storm like this since '98. Maybe several years ago. What do you think? When was the last time you saw a storm like this?
I've thought about '98, and '98 really doesn't even compare to this because we didn't have the devastation that we have now. And so I don't think that we've seen a storm like this in quite some time, maybe not even my lifetime.
Wow. So obviously a lot of injuries, a lot of devastation. Can you tell us anything about some of the injuries and deaths that might be related to this?
Well, I know that we have folks at the hospital that are monitoring who's being treated and some of the injuries, what they're being treated for. We also have crews that are attempting to locate those that are missing in the rubble over especially off of Russell Road in the Valley Creek area. So right now, it's just a trying to find out all the information as soon as we can, as fast as we can, but also be as accurate.
Absolutely. And you talked about the hospitals. Are they feeling overwhelmed right now?
I don't think so. I think we have some very good medical facilities here, of course, and they're being treated, but they have flown a couple of people out due to their injuries, the extent of their injuries being so severe. So we're seeing a little bit of everything, but they're being treated in as quickly and as good quality as they can.
Absolutely. Now, while we were out surveying some of the damage this morning, obviously being as careful as we can, a lot of people, though, are out, wandering around. Of course, they want to see what damage is done to their homes, but what do you wish people would know when they're out, maybe taking a look at some of the damage?
Well, we tried to put out very quickly at the beginning of this to stay in your home. We know that people are going to come out and look and want to see, and we understand that, the curiosity. However, it hampers the ability for rescuers to get to places. Right now, if you try to cross from Russellville Road back into downtown, it's going to take you 45 minutes to an hour. Some roads are impassable. Lots of roads are impassable. So everybody adding to just coming out and looking, clogs up those streets, and it also hampers the ability for emergency crews to go down those streets.
Absolutely. We're looking at video right now. It's awful. You know, we saw video earlier of 31W bypass. Like we said, a lot of mostly small business owners there. And when we went by earlier, a lot of their windows were knocked out. What is the police department doing right now? We heard rumors of looters. Can you talk about that and what people can do to keep their businesses safe?
Yeah, sure. We had some reports of some looters on the bypass. Obviously, those businesses down there are completely devastated. There's a couple on Russellville Road, or several on Russellville Road, that are completely just flattened. And so, yes, we're going to do everything that we can do to help them to protect their business. But we just hope that people just don't do that. I mean, that's what you would really like, is just for people to not go out there and steal other people's stuff, especially in this time when they're being hit the hardest, their businesses are suffering. So we have officers out. We are in full force right now. And our officers are going to be working, of course, around the clock, as we always do, but there's more of us. And so we're going to be doing everything we can do to watch for that and to protect those businesses.
Absolutely. Now, this might be a dumb question, but do you have other police departments helping you out right now?
Right now we have, yes, we do. It's the ATF is at the station right now. In fact, we just sent a crew of them out to the Magnolia Nutwood area. And there's some other agencies here, but the fire departments across the county are assisting inside the city limits with the search and recovery and rescue efforts.
Great. So what are the next few days, weeks, maybe even months? What do you expect those to look like?
Well, the first thing that you'll start noticing is power, because they're working fervently trying to get the power restored to the areas. We heard some number around 11,000 this morning who were without. So they're working through that. But cleaning the trees off of the power line is also going to be a big deal. So road crews are out, and the power people are out, and they're all cutting trees and trying to get power restored. So that's going to be probably days before we get to see all of that restored, just because of, you know, it's one thing to have a tree down, but when you have as many trees down as there are across the city, it's going to be really tough. And so then you're going to start seeing cleanup crews, because we're scraping the roads off now, but that debris has to end up somewhere. Right. So it'll be weeks and months probably just eliminating that debris.
Do you think we'll see roads closed for that long?
I don't think so. I think the roads are going to be open, because we have to have those open. And so there's a big push right now to get those open, and they'll work through the night, they'll work through tomorrow, they'll work as long as they need to work to get those roads open. They're doing a very good job right now. There's a lot open now that wasn't open at 1 o'clock this morning. So.
All right, Whitney Ward, Bowling Green Police Department, thank you so much, and thank you guys for all your work. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. Right now, South Warren High School is open to anyone needing shelter, but they are currently asking, they need donations. Right now, they are in need of towels, washcloths, new underwear, toiletries like shampoo, soap, and toothpaste, toothbrushes. Coming up in our special report, actually right now, I want to take you to South Warren High School, where school officials are operating the school as a shelter for residents. Now, the Red Cross is also set up inside the building to support the community and recruit volunteers to help with the devastation. Our News 40's Maxwell Trink, he's right there. We have him on the phone. Maxwell, what can you tell us?
A lot of people here, not necessarily a lot of people actually sheltering, although there is several people in the area doing just that. It really is a lot of the members of the community making their way all the way out here to South Warren High School to drop off their items. And again, this is a huge deal for many people that have had their homes completely destroyed. And it's great to see so many people out. But for me, back at the station, it took me over an hour to get to South Warren High School because of delays on the road, what was going on. There was a lot of chaos going on the roads today, power lines all over the place, and just seeing so many people out here at South Warren donating as much as they can. It is very, very satisfying to see. And also, I just wanted to emphasize on they are donating new items, not used items, because they want new, clean, fresh items for those who need them right now.
Absolutely. It's amazing. It's really neat to see the community coming together right now. Are there a lot of people there? Obviously, a lot of people are displaced right now. They're going to South Warren. Are there a lot of people there right now?
I would not say that there are so many. There are a few people, but I would say there are plenty more people that are donating right now than there are in the shelters, which is a great thing to see. That much I will say.
Absolutely, Maxwell. All right, thank you so much. We'll continue to keep up with Maxwell and see what is going on over there. Maxwell, thank you so much. We're going to take a break.
Thank you, Brian.
Welcome back. We're continuing with our coverage of last night's devastating storms. This morning, as the sun is rising, many of you were getting a very first look at the damage done to your homes, done to your properties, done to your cars. Now, for those of you living in the Moss Creek area in Bowling Green, it's particularly tough, where the majority of the homes, they're actually level to their foundation. It's just devastating. It only begins to describe the feeling for so many of you. Emergency crews were dispatched to this area of Bowling Green around 3 o'clock this morning to assist with multiple rescues and extractions. We are still working to find out exactly how many people were impacted in this area, the amount of injuries and potential death. We're still working to get those details for you. You can take a look at this video. It's devastating. You know, seeing these emotions that people have, you never think that it will happen to your community until it does. But it is interesting to see neighbors rallying around together. You can see people helping. That is the silver lining, kind of, if you will, to look at this. It's nice to see your community come together. Now, I do want you to look at this next video. A viewer actually sent this to us. Her apartment was destroyed, but her dog survived and was actually sitting there waiting for her. Take a look.
There's our apartment right there. My car's on top of Burba's, and I found my dog right there, sitting there waiting for us.
Man, absolutely amazing. We've had so many interesting pieces of video come in. This next one, you can actually hear the tornado sirens and see the funnel cloud as it's making our way to our area. This is given to NBC by Kevin Thompson. Listen to that siren. That's a sound many of us heard last night. It's terrifying sights, terrifying sounds to see, especially at night. That's what makes these storms so difficult. We've said it time and time again. You know, it's one thing to happen during the day when you can be weather aware, you can see what's happening. You also, or might be watching television or being on your phone. A lot of these storms hit around 1 o'clock this morning when many people were asleep. The most destructive part of the storm was 1 o'clock this morning in Bowling Green. It carved a path of destruction along the 31W bypass south of Broadway. You can see in this video that we have almost every business along the bypass has major damage. WKU liquor store that's just on the corner there was just completely demolished. Windows were blown out of other buildings, signs torn from their posts, roofs collapsed in. Take a look at that photo. Early this morning, business owners along the bypass were surveying the damage in the dark, moving carefully around downed power lines strung across the roadway. It's dangerous, during the storm. It's dangerous to see after the storm as well. Magnolia Street really seemed to get the brunt of the storm as well. Nearly every house on this street suffered some type of damage. You can see trees on top of homes, many cars damaged, lots of power lines down as well. I actually walked through the street early this morning. There was quite a lot of roof damage, and something notable and heartbreaking to look at is the debris from the homes actually hanging from the trees. It's heartbreaking. I actually saw clothing items hanging from one tree. Now, one neighbor actually told me that right after the storm hit early this morning, her husband ran to every home on the street to check on their neighbors. Now, we're still gathering information to see if anyone along that street was injured, but that's just another example of all the neighbors on that street. We were there, they were cleaning up, they were working together, checking to see if anyone needed help, if anyone was okay. There's that video I was talking about with debris hanging on the tree. It's just, amazing sights that we're seeing today. The Moss neighborhood and Creekwood area, it was also hit in a devastating way. You can see red and blue lights from the Bowling Green police and fire departments lit up the pitch black sky as they showed up in full force to the area. This is after roofs caved in. Cars were actually sent flying into homes. In fact, one retired firefighter actually threw on some gear, joined his former co-workers to respond to the tragedy. Now, he did that after his son and daughter-in-law told him of the destruction that was out there. Several homes are now only a foundation. Lawns are covered in debris, as you can see in this video right now. Family members were gathered outside collecting up their destroyed belongings, and everyone's really just trying to process the devastation. And I'm sure that's something that's going to happen in the days, weeks, months to come. Now, the number of houses damaged on Stone Hollow and the surrounding streets is just quite too many to count. Now, the front end of the Spring Hill subdivision is completely blocked off by collapsed power lines, a downed tree, and of course, a lot of debris. In the early morning hours, neighbors were outside asking one another if they were okay, if they needed help, as large trees fell, caused severe damage. The streets were completely black without street lights, and backyards were flooded with water and debris. Much of the Spring Hill neighborhood is still without power, and actually officials say power might not return for another day or two potentially. We're still working to gather as much details as we can for all the areas of our community. Now, like much of this area this morning, Russellville Road took quite a beating. Many buildings on the road, including Enterprise Car Rental, Cabrera's, another auto parts, and 2 Lanes Hair Salon, suffered major damage. Enterprise is just half the building it used to be, with the back part actually completely destroyed. You can see it in that video right now. I also want to show you Ryan's Fatted Calf real quick. Suffered some damage as well. Angie Jaggers-Keene sent this video to NBC. Again, a lot of power lines down, trees down. It looks like the windows have been completely busted out. Of course, they are closing to, of course, do some renovations, get back and running. I'm joined now with Amber K. Bowman with the Bowling Green Police Department. We were talking earlier, we just have new information with a press conference with Governor Beshear. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yes, the governor is going to be coming to Bowling Green at about 2:30 this afternoon, and we're going to be holding another press conference at that time. So okay. He's just going to brief about everything that's been going on throughout the entire day and the continued efforts that we're making.
Absolutely. And, some video that we haven't really been able to show yet, Transpark and Commonwealth Boulevard has suffered some damage. Can you talk to me a little bit about what happened out there? As
far as specifics, I can't really give that out, but we have been given reports that there's numerous businesses that are out there that have extensive damage. As far as injuries or anything of that nature out there right now, we're unaware of that.
Okay. And so we talked, this is continuing to be a team effort. Of course, not only neighbors and business owners, but police department, everyone. Talk to me about how that's really made things maybe go a little bit smoother today.
Today has been a really devastating day, but seeing the police department and the fire department and the city electric and all of these different businesses and people that live in the area all come together. It's really been it's been a great thing to see. Yeah. It's been a collaborative effort, but we're getting the work done slowly but surely.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what I've heard from everyone today. That it's devastating to see this, devastating to wake up to this. Everyone's working together. It was interesting when I was on 31W on the bypass, a lot of business owners were helping each other. We talked with Ronnie a little bit earlier, but what is the police department doing right now to kind of help those business owners, maybe not just on 31W, but kind of all over town, because I'm sure, they're worried.
Well, right now we have more officers on the streets. We're working in 12-hour shifts to make sure that we're providing that security for our city. We're patrolling and as well as trying to help those people that really need us right now. Those business owners are included on that. The looting has started. Fortunately, we haven't had a whole lot of reports of that. We expect to possibly have some more, but we do have some more officers that are out patrolling, so we can try to prevent that.
Absolutely. And what can people do right now? When I was out surveying the area, a lot of people were just kind of walking, taking pictures. What would you want to say to the people doing that?
We really ask that people stay inside and don't do that, because we still have a lot of down power lines and really unsafe areas. We have trees that are still laying on houses, and it's really providing a lot of unsafe conditions. And so we want to make sure that we can help those people that may be trapped in their houses or really need us right now, without adding the additional effort of helping those that are just out walking in the area.
Absolutely. And something that we haven't really talked much about is, the mental impact that this will have on people. We'll probably be cleaning this up or dealing with it for the next days, weeks, months. Talk to me about that.
It's not just going to affect the first responders and the people helping. It's going to affect the community as a whole. It's an unfortunate thing, but seeing everyone come together today, I would like to think that is going to be something that we can remember and grow from.
Absolutely. I know you've probably been working all day. Did you get any sleep last night?
I think I got about 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough. A lot of us didn't get any sleep at all.
Right.
So
that's what I've been talking to. A lot of people stayed up all night to deal with this. We've been working throughout the mornings. What has kind of been it's kind of hard to pinpoint. It's all devastating, but what have you seen that's really just been, hard to work with this morning?
the amount of damage, of course, just seeing complete roofs being taken off of houses, 2x4s being slammed into cars, cars upturned. Of course, the people are number one. You know, you see how upset that the people are. They've literally lost everything that they have, and that's really upsetting for anyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to continue to follow this through the days, weeks, months. Of course, we're going to have more information as it becomes available. Amber Kay, I appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Thank y'all at home for joining us. You can stay up to date with the latest on our website. That's WNKY.com, on our app as well. Thankfully, it seems like the worst of the weather has moved past, but we will continue to bring you the latest details regarding the severe weather. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.